getting exclusive footage of a DPS aircraft patrol along the southern border, spotting a known smuggler staging area and making multiple arrests in the process. Our border correspondent, Jaeson Jones, he joins us live now with his exclusive Newsmax report. Jaeson, what can you tell us?
Good afternoon. It's good to be with you. And Biden's border failures are just stacking up right now. And I want to show you, why this surge is happening, but also how it's impacting the people along the border region. This is exclusive imagery coming in from the Texas Department of Public Safety's Elite Aircraft Division as they conduct Governor Abbott's Operation Lone Star out in El Paso, Texas. But they're looking into New Mexico when they see these people crossing illegally into the country, smugglers picking them up, and then driving into the city of El Paso, resulting in a pursuit, as you see here, along with a bailout. And if you'll notice, they stay with the driver who's shirtless there, and then they try to take him into custody, and they were able to do so. But it's an example of the ultimate index crimes impacting the state of Texas. We're hearing about migrants all over the country, living in streets, sleeping in airports. But you have to remember, there are other secondary and third impacts to crimes that are occurring from this, because these criminals don't operate in silos. Now, that thing you have to ask as you're watching this imagery, why is this occurring now? Most of the people that are crossing in this surge that we're seeing are Hondurans. I was on the border in August. I showed you this. But why is it happening? Well, Secretary Mayorkas, here we go again, July 10th, signed an exemption for Hondurans. This allowed family units and people who, if you're come from Honduras, you can stay in the United States, and like a beacon, they have come to this country. That is what's drawing the numbers up. But you have to remember, when you see this at the border, you can't think of it the way normal news media is showing it to you. They show you the big groups of people turning themselves in. You have to remember, there are also groups like what I just showed you who are runners contracting, working with the cartels. But from that, large numbers of drugs flow into the country with it. So it doesn't operate in silos, and it's very important, because we're seeing the numbers truly escalate. In June, guys, the numbers were at 10,000 Hondurans. By July, the end of July, 23,000, and the numbers for August haven't come in yet. But I can tell you this, I'm talking to law enforcement at local and state and federal levels. They are feeling the results of the surge. So if you're sitting in the north and you're saying to yourself, well, I'm glad I sure don't live on the border, understand this. Fentanyl and other deadly drugs are getting through because all the resources are trying to stop the images you're seeing right there. Back to you.
Jaeson Jones with that excellent report. I still have it burns in my brain when you showed up the bracelets to show that the illegals, they actually belong to the cartels, and that's how they kept accounting of them like sex trafficking and human trafficking, modern day slavery.
How polished of an operation they have. It's incredible.
What did you say?
It really is, guys. You're right. That's debt bondage you're talking about. And by the way, I was just on the phone last night with law enforcement. The average cost for one Honduran, even if that's a day-old child, is $8,000 to $9,000 to make their trip up. That's what the cartels are charging, and they can't afford it, guys. So they're truly in debt. So when you see these people in the country, remember one thing: they are indebted to a criminal organization who should be a terrorist organization in a foreign country for years, if not decades to come. And we hear nothing from the FBI director, the DEA administration, or the Homeland Security about what they're going to do. The levels of failure here are incredible.
And our own president of the United States aiding and abetting criminal organizations. Thank you so much, Jaeson Jones. Joining us now, Republican Congressman from Tennessee and Chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, Representative Mark Green. Mark Green, your thoughts hearing that report from Jaeson Jones?
Well, we've been talking about this now in our 5-phase investigation for some time, and we just finished and published, effective today, the report from the phase 2, which was about cartel crime. Essentially, and that's the cartels are taking an advantage of these policies and the tons of people that are coming, millions of people. They overwhelm the crossing sites, and then they bring the drugs and smuggle the humans that they don't necessarily want us to know about around those crossing sites. So that's been the modus operandi. Actually, Merrick Garland actually talked about it, and then Alejandro Mayorkas said he knew nothing about it. So it's a huge dereliction of duty on Mayorkas's part.
They either know or they don't care. I want to talk about that buoy that was down there in the Rio Grande that Governor Abbott had installed, and President Biden sued to get it removed. And it wasn't that long, but I think in watching from Jaeson Jones' reports, that was an area vulnerable to crossings. And I think it's important to note, Governor Abbott's trying to do something. He's trying to put a stop to this. he thought that buoy system was what he needed. Well, then you have the president remove it. You know, I think it's a bigger representation of just complete chaos down there and the Biden administration not wanting to do enough.
Yeah, the interesting ruling from this federal judge is that they have to move it back closer to the U.S. border. So I don't think it's as bad as, some media has made out. But what this really is you hit the nail on the head. Abbott is forced, the governor of Texas is forced to take matters into his own hands because really the failure of Mayorkas and the president and the administration to control our southern border. The cartels are in control. So they're doing things, they're acting, they're doing everything they can within their capability, and you've got to fight the federal government at the same time in order to protect your border. You take El Paso, for example, they were seeing like 870 a day. That's a city of about 200,000. New York has 11 million, and they're fussing about 10,000 a month. I mean, it's ridiculous what's happened to Texas relative to some of these other Democrat cities that are complaining.
Congressman, we have about a minute left, and we have yet to see just the repercussions from all of this mass invasion of these people. And when the criminal element among them organizes, God help us all. I mean, we're seeing some criminality among them already in the sanctuary city of Chicago. Several asylum seekers, that's what they call them, are in separate incidents. They were arrested for battering and threatening police officers. They're beating up cops. I mean, what's it going to take for us to actually vet these people? Why not adjudicate their so-called asylum claims at the border? And if you're in, you're in. If you're not, turn you around.
How could you possibly vet 23,000 people coming through? It's not realistic.
Yeah, it's already a nexus inside the United States, and you can look at San Francisco. The Honduran cartels have taken over and merged with the gangs, and it's one big system now, and it's all over our country. And again, we reported that in the Phase 2 report that was released today.
All right, thank you so much, Congressman
Thanks,
Green,
guys.
with that report.